Hey everybody, welcome to TNM Coaching and Unplugged, the Zoran and Todorovic Interconnected podcast. I'm so grateful and happy for you to come to this podcast once again. For people who are listening week after week, thank you so much for dedicating your time and energy to be with us. And for the new people who are coming into our podcast, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so happy and grateful that our community is growing. It's lovely to hear your comments, and I'm super grateful for you being here with us today. As you know, this podcast is the space when we explore leadership, we explore human potential, we go deeper into the forces that shape how we live and how we work, and today also how we create. I love this conversation. It's really dear and near to my heart. Creativity is something that I've been teaching myself and learning about myself throughout my professional career. But today we have somebody who is a true global voice for creativity, somebody who has spent more than 25 years traveling around the world studying how the ideas are born, how innovation happens, and what truly makes us think differently. And as we know nowadays, innovation, creativity, our ability to think beyond boxes is super important when it comes to sustaining our life and also our work. Fredrik Haren is known as the creativity explorer. He has delivered more than 2,000 keynote speeches, so the world knows him as well across 75 countries. He has inspired, or still inspiring over 1 million people to unlock their creative potential and creative genius, I would say. He is author of 10 books, but one of his significant books is called the Idea Book, that has been recognized by 100 best books of all the times. And in his latest work, The World of Creativity, he brings together the insights from the decades of exploring creativity across cultures, industries, and human experiences. So this is going to be a lovely conversation about how do we understand creativity, how do we understand our creative potential, what is necessary to be creative nowadays, and anything else that comes along in this lovely conversation. Fredrik, welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's start. Always, we have this kind of a signature start in our podcast talking about the hero's journey. So I'm very curious. You've spent 25 years exploring creativity across the world. What originally pulled you into this path, and what you were really searching for? How did this really happen that you get so passionate about creativity and humanity?
Depends where we should start, but I guess we can start from the beginning. I grew up in a family where creativity was very important. My father was a musician, and he could play 10 different instruments, and they were a very fun and creative band. They would wear wigs on stage and bring people up on stage. It's a fun, creative environment. Unfortunately, I suck at music. I don't have a musical bone in my body. So I grew up thinking, okay, music creativity is very important. I don't know how to do it, so I'm clearly not creative. But at the same time, I realized that something doesn't make sense here, because I felt like there was a language, but I couldn't speak that dialect. But it took a while, and then when I was in university, I discovered the internet. And I wrote my university thesis about the internet and marketing, and suddenly I was thrown into this. I don't know, you're old enough to remember. You remember the early 90s? The internet just exploded, right?
Yeah, I
And
do.
but there were no internet experts. There was no one who could say this is how you do the internet, because no one knew how to do the internet. It was basically a clean slate of this huge innovation, and no one could say this is how you do it. And that meant I could go in there, and I could go in and say, well, let's try things out. So I ran an internet company for 5 years, 95 to 2000, and then we sold it. And that's when I realized that, oh, okay, maybe I'm not musical, but I can definitely create within the internet. And then I did. And then when I sold the company, I said, okay, what do I do now? Do I start a new company? And I said, actually, no. What I really liked during those 5 years was trying new things out. This creative discovery environment that was in there. So I said, why don't I actually never really liked the internet. I liked the fact that it was new. So that's in 2000 I decided just going to dedicate my life to study creativity, regardless if it's with the internet or outside of the internet. And then I broadened my scope, and I just started studying anything new in any aspect. And then in 2005, I moved to Asia, and that's when I got a global perspective on creativity. So since the last 20 years, I've been traveling around. 25 years I've been studying creativity, but 20 years I've been doing it globally. And now I go to I like to say between 15 and 35 countries every year and interview hundreds of people about creativity. As you mentioned, I define myself as the creativity explorer. And that means I go and I interview people who are all kinds of people, all kinds of professions, all kinds of countries, all kinds of cultures, anywhere from North Korea to South Korea, I like to say, or from painters and entrepreneurs and rally drivers and chefs, whatever. I just want to understand human creativity from as many different aspects as possible.
You've traveled around the world in this quest of understanding creativity and exploration. I love this kind of questing into the adventure. And I know this is the big topic. We can record more than 10 hours on this. But what I really would love to know is, what did you find out? What is something that really stands up for you? And what is the most important thing that we need to understand?
Yeah, it's a very big question. What is creativity? And the more I study it, the more you realize creativity is not one thing. It's so many different things. Like the creativity, let's say, of a German engineer is all very different from the creativity of a, I don't know, Thai dancer. So what's the common denominator for or creativity as artistic expression versus business development? The common denominator, I like to say two things. Creativity is what makes us human. The more you study it, and I say that first of all because creativity, we are the most creative animal by far, no competition. So the definition of a human is that we are more creative than the rest of the animals. But it's also the one thing that makes us really, really feel alive. Like you don't feel more alive. I like to say, you don't feel more alive apart from love. Love beats everything, right? But apart from love, nothing makes us feel more alive than when we have a really, really good idea, or when we see a really, really good idea come true. Like that energy that it's created beats everything else. And when you realize this, you realize creativity more than anything else is something that makes us happy. And I'm a big fan of etymology. So the meaning of the word creativity, have you ever thought about what it means, creativity? What's the etymology?
Yeah,
It's one of those words that you know it has a meaning, but no one knows it, right? So you can understand that creativity comes from the word create comes from the word creator means God. But what is the actual meaning of the word creativity? It means to give birth. Wow. And if you have children, you know that nothing beats the love to your child. Like there's a different kind of love. And when you give birth to an idea, the reason we use that word is because it's the same kind of love when you have a really, really good idea or you see a good idea come true. And I think sometimes we forget this. We focus on the result of the idea. We're improving our lives, but at the core of it is really that. It's to give birth to something new and the joy that comes with it.
I love that you define it in such a beautiful way, the giving birth to something new and then the joy that comes with it, and also the unconditional love that we feel. An example of people who have children or pets, like some people have the same feeling for animals as well. That joy, the deeper meaning that really makes us alive in a way, right?
And when you realize this, you realize that it drastically increases your quality of life. Almost like I like to say, even if you write a book. And it's a very creative process, and then the book never comes out, you still had a wonderful process writing the book, right? The end result is just a bonus. The process of creating something is where the joy is. And I once interviewed a student he was a brewery student. He was basically going to university in the oldest brewery in the world, learning how to become a beer brewer. That's a very German thing. And he told me there are two kinds of people who apply for this course. Half of the students love beer, and then they apply to go to a beer brewery school. Half of the people love the process of making beer, the chemistry and all of that. And he said it's a 2-year course, but after 1 year, half of the people have dropped out. And so I asked him, which half has dropped out? What do you think?
The people who love beer.
Yes, exactly. Because suddenly they're sitting there and this is some boring chemistry lesson and they're like, oh God, I hate this. This is boring. I just want to drink beer. And they lose interest. But the people who love the process of making beer, they stay. And I heard him say that. I realized that if you want to really enjoy creativity, you should think about the process that you love, not the end result that you love. Right?
And this is the tough question that I really wanted to ask. I completely understand that for myself, but a lot of the time, this creativity gets hijacked by, let's say, in organizations when people need to be creative or they have to innovate or they have to come with a solution that is linked to the specific outcome, that is linked to the specific project or profit. How can people then stay within this process, yeah, and really enjoy it, even though there is an attachment that this must work or it must deliver or it must succeed? You know what I mean? You know what I'm asking you?
Yes, I do understand. So my job is basically to interview a lot of people. So when I give your answers, I usually don't give my answer. I give the answer that someone has given to me. So I was interviewing a woman in Australia. She was working for this, I don't remember, it's kind of like a finance company, insurance company, something like this. And she was not feeling very, like, she was just feeling she was going through the motions, forced to do this, but nothing really happened. But then on the weekends, she did pottery, and she suddenly she got all this creative energy, and she called the pottery, she called it my creative outlet. And when I was coaching her, I said, why do you think of it as an outlet? I said, why don't you reframe it and say that the pottery is your creative inlet? Because an outlet is something that goes out of you. An inlet is something that goes into you. So when you do pottery, you get all this creative energy into you. Now you take that energy, on Monday you go back to work and you use that energy that you had on Sunday on your work. And she did, and it worked. And she ended up being working under the CEO as in an innovation group, because suddenly now she could take that creative energy and apply that on the job that she was doing in her. So it's all about motivation, right? Find some, you need to feel that this is meaningful for you.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's kind of like love. Otherwise, you can't, it's a forced marriage, right?
exactly. And I love that you're saying that the motivation is there and you find the inlet and outlet. And I always wanted to ask you something, because through your research and also asking other people, something that I come across when I coach as well, it's a lot of people don't perceive themselves as creative. I would be talking to people and inviting them to get into the creative process, and then there is some kind of blockage that I'm noticing in humanity, even for the people who came from the creative families like yourself, right? From musicians or sculptures, they link creativity to art. They think being creative, you need to be artistic, and if you don't have artistic bone, don't know how to create. And then they feel somehow shy and not being able to really unblock this energy that you were talking about, its example before. So what is it that we need to shift in our perspective or mindset or how we experience ourselves to really be unleashing this creative force within?
Well, actually, it's not a bad thing to have doubts about your creative abilities. I like to exemplify with, let's exemplify with something that most people know, like football. Who's the best football? Okay, I'll ask you, who's the best footballer ever?
Ronaldo, ever. I mean, I don't know ever. Right now, Ronaldo is good.
Yeah, okay. So there's two answers, right? It's Ronaldo or Messi. These are the two that people will say. And Ronaldo has huge confidence, right? I'm the best ever and so on. But Messi doesn't speak that way. It's a very humble approach. So you're extremely confident, like Elon Musk or Salvador Dali or Picasso or Ronaldo, and like, I'm the best, I don't care, I'm gonna create masterpieces. And that's great, it works. But then you have like the Federers and the Messis, like the humble people who approach what they're doing and I'm not saying one is not better than the other. It's just that either have extreme confidence, I don't care about anyone else, or I'm the best, or the doubtfulness. And I like to tell people you should go for the sweet spot, which I call confidently doubting. Because creativity is like this. Everyone is walking to the left and you are going to walk to the right? To do that, you need some level of creative confidence. You need some confidence. I'm not just going to do what everyone else is doing. I'm going to go the other way. But too much confidence leads to arrogance or ignorance. And then you might go in the wrong direction, right? So truly creative people they are either extremely confident or they are like this. Everyone is walking to the left. I'm going to walk to the right. But then they start to doubt. They say, wait a minute. Maybe this is wrong. Maybe I should go to the left. Maybe I should go to the up. Maybe I should go down. Maybe I should go forward. Maybe I should go inwards. So the ability to believe that I know what I'm doing and I believe in my own ideas, at the same time doubting if this is really right or is there maybe a better idea. That's the creativity sweet spot. The confidently doubting or doubtfully confident.
I love that, confidently doubting or doubtfully confident, because you're absolutely right that if we reach that sweet spot, then we can really be in relationship with ourselves on a deeper level and really understand our creative energy without being swayed in the directions that are leading to something that we can project as the possible outcome. It's really, really sweet that you discovered that.
And also, if you think about it, the history of human innovation, the graveyard of history of human innovation is full of people who were extremely confident and were wrong. And they just those ideas were just died, right? The ability to say, wait, this is not working, let's pivot, is extremely important. And also, I have to add, the creative confidence is not a level of your creative abilities. There are huge cultural differences. I've asked over 1 million people in 75 countries, do you think you are creative? I start my speeches by asking this question. In America, 95% say yes. In South Korea, 95, like 2 or 3% say yes. So does that mean Americans all are creative and South Koreans and none of them are creative? No, it doesn't. South Korea, Japan, and Singapore are all scoring below 20% creative confidence, but those 3 countries are in the top 10 most innovative countries on the planet. So it shows that some cultures they honor humility, and in some cultures we honor confidence. So if you ask someone, do you think you are creative? The answer does not measure their creativity, it measures their confidence.
Exactly. And then the cultural programming, I would say, right? Because, sometimes when you're brought up in a certain culture, as you said, that values humility or humbleness, you will not reach out and say, yes, I am. Of course I am. You will be much more humble to that.
Or maybe they even think they are creative. They're just not going to say yes because they don't want to brag.
Yeah, I completely understand that. So a lot of people are, Fredrik, looking for this, aha moments of eureka moments when this big creative idea downloads into your consciousness. And from your quest and interviews, when people receive something like that, how does it happen? Is it part of the process, or they're being blessed, or they're gifted, or they have deeper connection to themselves or the source or the God, whoever inspires? What really inspires this big moment to come through?
We almost have to. There's a deficit in the English language, actually in most languages. There's a deficit because we use the word idea both when we have like a eureka moment and something just amazing just pops into our head, or when I say, oh, I think we're going to raise the prices by 20%, and we call that an idea too, but they're not. So I interviewed an artist in Johnson Sang. He's a sculptor in Hong Kong. He talked about mortal ideas and divine ideas. Mortal ideas is when your conscious brain has an idea, like, oh, let's raise the prices by 20%. Divine ideas is ideas that come to you, and when you have an idea like that, you don't call it your idea. You say, I was gifted this idea, and that's where we go into the confidence. Those people who have had divine ideas, they don't call them. They don't think it's their ideas. Like there's no ego involved. They have been delivered to them. Like Harry Potter came in when J.K. Rowling was on a train, like boom, just ready in her head. She didn't come up with Harry Potter. Harry Potter came to her. And those are by far the best ideas. Like humanity's best ideas are divine ideas. And that doesn't mean they come from God. It means they come from outside. A mortal idea comes from you. Divine ideas come to you. That's the difference. How do you get divine ideas? By killing your ego.
And how do you kill your ego?
How do you kill your ego? You practice curiosity and humility, and you lower your brain frequency. So you meditate, or you make sure that you're like, who was it that put a spoon in their head and so they would almost fall asleep? Those brain when the conscious brain shuts up, that's when it comes.
Right. So we do have to open up to that well-being, exploration, meditation, connection, really allowing our ego to transcend in a certain way so that we can open it up to the divine creativity to come through us, right?
Because those are the most beautiful ideas. They are by far the most beautiful ideas. But having said that, creativity is, like I said in the beginning, it's a spectrum. The best ideas come there, but some people have their best ideas when they are in a bar together with a lot of other people, brainstorming, being drunk, having fun, throwing ideas at each other. Some people need conflict. I need someone to challenge me. So now, which one is it? Is it alone and meditating, or is it being challenged in the bar with your best friend? Which one is it? Well, it's both.
It's both, exactly. And you need to know yourself on a certain level. Like, for example, I know in my life that I need sparring and creative partnership. And sometimes through the dialogue and conversation, I would come up with a better idea than if I was just to sit down and journal and write or meditate myself. So I guess knowing your creative soul, knowing your creative landscape, what ignites this creativity within will help.
Yeah, very true. And you'd be surprised how few people have actually sat down and actually reflected on that to fully if you ask me how many people fully understand their own creative process, I'd say 5%. And it's so easy to do. You can just sit down. I like to say now with AI, it's even easier. Just start your microphone on ChatGPT and just talk for 15 minutes about your creative process. What's the best idea I've ever had? When did that happen? How did that happen? What challenges my creativity? What kills it? What fertilizes it? Just dump it in, and then ask ChatGPT to give a description back of you to your because it's hard to cut your own hair, right? It's hard to understand your own creative process because you're in the middle of it. So let ChatGPT summarize the kind of creative person you are and what you can learn from that creative process. It's a very useful exercise. It takes 15 minutes. 5% have done it.
Yeah. I have few fast questions, and then we're going to open up the last question that I need to open up with you, which is the AI. But before we go into the AI, if you really yes or no or short elaboration, a lot of people that I meet believe that the divine creativity that you have been given as inspiration, if you don't actualize it, in reality, it will go to somebody else.
Yes.
Is that your experience?
The Big Magic, and Elizabeth Gilbert, right? In The Big Magic, she writes about that story. It's a beautiful, beautiful story, and I think there is some merit to it. I would like to believe that is true.
Right. And some people believe that it's good, they have creative ideas, but then they struggle in their life to manifest them or to realize them or to materialize them, so to say. So what would you say to people who are creative and they have abundance of ideas, right, on daily basis, but they're struggling in this anchoring in reality? You know what I mean? What is that about from your research? Anything that you can connect on that?
Well, first of all, I think regardless how many ideas you have, we should strive to have even more. That it's like if you're planting seeds, say, oh, I have so many seeds, but they're not growing. Well, maybe you need better seeds, right? Then maybe that's the problem. And if you have better seeds, then maybe they will grow better. So maybe you're spending your energy trying to make not the best idea happen, and of course, then it's not going to materialize. So upgrade your ideas for sure. But then, of course, yes, I don't think creativity is about. If you go back to the meaning, it means to give birth. It doesn't mean conception. It means birth. Right? You need to give the idea need to come out into the world. But I think the creative, the creative anxiety that comes from I'm not making all my ideas happen, I think we should just let go of. No one has made. Leonardo da Vinci's sketchbooks are full of ideas he never materialized.
Yeah, and people keep on forgetting that. Yeah, I think people keep on forgetting that because there is an investment in this kind of must happen, especially if it's linked to the work, especially if it's linked to your, performance and so on and so forth. They don't release them as and let go. Yeah.
Yeah, but especially if we're struggling, it's both things are true. Sometimes we need to struggle for the idea to come out, but very often people struggle too long with the wrong ideas and say, just let it go. Take another idea. Take one of your other ideas that will come to life in an easier way, or don't be afraid to change your dreams and your ideas that you're working on. The world is full of creative people who gave up on projects and started something else instead.
Exactly, and this is good to know, because sometimes people take it too seriously.
Yeah, creative anxiety is way overrated. We should have less of that.
Yeah, we should have less of that. Now, I really need to open this field with you because this is important to me personally. I work with young people, older people in all different domains, and now we're getting into this landscape of the AI and creativity and how the AI is impacting us. So I really would love to hear your honest thoughts here. You know, when you look into this emergence of the AI and what's really going in the world right now, and we're recording in 26, if people listen to this in 800 years from now, so you know where you are in the time frame. And there is an emergence of the AI happening at this moment in time. How do you feel AI will impact our creativity? And I'm curious about both. I'm curious about positive ways because I believe there is a positive ways, but I'm also curious about threats or negative ways of the AI impact on us. So if you can elaborate on both, it would be really lovely.
I am very bullish about it. I think AI is an amazing creativity tool. I think it's the most powerful AI tool, and it's the most powerful creativity tool we have invented since we invented a pen. And if used right. If used wrong, then I like to compare it to the calculator. When we invented the calculator, I'm sure they said, "Oh, now people are not going to be able to do math in their heads anymore." And partly this is true. Some people don't know what 7 times 8 is. They have to look it up on a calculator. Historically, you could do 122 times 57 in your head. Some people still can do that. But I don't think we can argue that giving us a calculator made us worse at math. We are now doing math on a scale that is way more advanced than we could before because of the calculator. And the same with AI. If we use AI to outsource our thinking, yes, and some people will do that, then that would be a shame. But I don't think there is a big risk of that because, as I said, creativity makes us happy. So I don't think humans will stop being creative themselves because why would we choose not to be happy?
Right.
But I love the fact that I can now sit down with my daughter and make a song, a whole pop song by just entering a prompt into a machine, and out comes a pop song for my daughter's birthday. I think this is amazing. And people, before you had to write the song. I think people, when they invented the camera, they said the same thing. I think the painter said, "Oh, come on, you just press a button now and now you have a picture of someone. What happened to the art of portrait painting?"
Yeah.
But I don't think today anyone will say that photography is not an art, even if it just means pressing a button. It is not just pressing a button. It's the mindset that leads to pressing the button in a certain way. Now, let's go to the positive, because creativity, we could do a whole episode on just AI and creativity, the positive side. For example, I heard about a daycare center in Sweden that put ChatGPT in voice mode in a kindergarten. And now you have 5-year-old kids who automatically ask questions, but they will stop because adults stop answering their questions. In this kindergarten, kids just ask and ask and ask and ask, which means if we do this right, we'll have a generation of kids growing up that never stop asking questions. They just keep asking. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? What shoes should I wear today? And always getting an answer back. Now that's not creativity. Creativity is not just asking questions, but imagine a generation that grows up just knowing that I'll just keep asking questions. But then creativity is also finding answers. So when we start using AI to stop us from coming up with our own answers, then that's not a good thing. But I think AI can help us find our own answers. And if we have time, I'd like to share. I have an identical twin brother.
All right.
Which means, I don't know if you have a twin brother, but most people don't understand what that means. It means, do you have a sibling?
I do,
Yeah.
but yes, it's not identical.
No, exactly. So when you were growing up, you had an amazing idea in your head, and now you're going to talk to your sibling and describe this idea to that person or any other person. Now you have to get them to understand what you mean, and they don't understand what you mean because they're not you. And now there's a disconnect, and you're struggling. But if you have a identical twin, we are identical. Same genes, same upbringing. So when I had an idea when I was young, I could finish, halfway through my idea, he would finish my sentence. And I totally understand what you mean. Which means we would brainstorm out loud with each other. And it's like brainstorming with myself.
Wow.
Now, for the first time, everyone can do this. If you upload all your writing, all your emails, all your documents into AI, ask it to talk back to you, record your own voice on 11 Labs, upload it, and ask the computer to speak back to you when you brainstorm out loud, and you can now brainstorm out loud with yourself.
Wow.
That's a totally new way of brain. Before, you either had to brainstorm inside your head, write down something on paper, talk to another person. That's how you would get brainstorm. Now you can do it with yourself, but outside your own body.
Wonderful. I love that. I love the positive spin on it. And I'm very grateful that you hold that reality inside of yourself, that this is a tool that would enhance our creativity and help us even become better and much more versatile in creative processes. Now, we're wrapping up slowly towards the end of our podcast recording today. As we know, we can record for a long time now. Having in mind that, there's a lot of leaders listening to this, HR executives, people in the small business, also mentors, guides, consultants, anything, Fredrik, that comes naturally for you when it comes to what is the call for action? Of course, we're going to reference, your books and your work and your websites when people can find you and learn more about your work and be inspired by you. But anything that you feel it's something that you would love the audience to consider and play with.
Yeah, that's a big question, but we talked earlier about sitting down and doing your own creative process. But one thing that I would recommend people do is also to do the group creative process. Like most people work in an office with a team or something, and I've interviewed a lot of people. Very often, the people in a team don't understand the other person's creative process in that team. So I say, if you're in a team or if you're starting a new team, start by saying, go around the table and everyone describe your own creative process as from a group perspective. For example, if you and I would start in a team, I would say to you, just so you know, I'm an extreme, I love ideas, I think fast, I talk fast, but I'm an extreme introvert, which means I don't like groups, big groups. I might look bored. I'm not bored, I'm just uncomfortable with big groups. I love to listen to your ideas. And I might interrupt you, just so you know. It doesn't mean I'm rude. It just means I want to get my ideas out. Just tell me to shut up. So and now you tell me, and now we would understand each other better, because your creative process is different from mine, and most people assume their creative process is the same as everyone else's. It's not. And when you realize this, you go, oh, okay, Fredrik is not, he's not angry. He just looks, that's just how he looks in groups. And then you're not bothered by that, and now your creativity will flourish. So figure out your creative group dynamics in a team, and I promise you, money back guarantee, your group will be more creative.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that call for action. Fredrik, lovely to talk to you. This was short and sweet. As we said, we always limit our podcast to 40 minutes. Thank you so much for coming to the podcast. Thank you so much for being the force for creativity for humanity in the world. Thank you so much for educating and teaching and inspiring other people. Really, really pleasure to have you on our podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for doing what you're doing. It's a lovely conversation.
Oh, wonderful. And for everybody else, thank you so much for joining in. This was another beautiful conversation. We will, of course, reference Fredrik's websites, books, and everything else that you need to find in the description of the podcast. Make sure that you share this with people that you love, people that you care about, people that you know will benefit from listening to this wonderful conversation today. And thank you so much for being part of our listening audience and our tribe. Bye for now.